Second.
Roll call.
Dvorak.
Yes.
Vogel. Sarchet.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public comments. This is the time and place for any comments for any item other than those that are on a public hearing. If wishes to address the council at this time. Hearing none or seeing none. Moving on to item 5, consent agenda. Take a motion. Yes, sir.
I'd like to pull number 12.
Okay. Anything else? Take a motion on consent.
So moved.
Second. Take the pick. Roll call.
Walters.
Yes.
Dvorak.
Yes.
Vogel. Yes. Sarchet.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 12 on consent.
Now, I just wondered, that was one of the things we talked when we had to raise taxes about one of the things we maybe weren't going to do. I'd just like to know what changed. I'd also like to know who and how much.
So this was actually budgeted for in this current budget year, not the budget that we just approved. So this was approved for that. I think that it's the same that we've seen in the past. As of right now, the two that we're going to go, Councilman Sarchet and Councilman Walters, they're going out there on a somewhat of a mission to have some visits with the Army Corps of Engineers to take care of some ongoing issues that we've got out there. And I know Jeff's already been in contact with them trying to get a couple things set up. So.
But worth discussion.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
If you feel differently, I think this year with Lost, with some things that the Army Corps is doing, I think it's to me it passes muster this year. I don't know if that's always the case.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
It passes muster for me this year, and for a lot of the reasons that he outlined, I think there are some different items legislatively that are being discussed. I know I talked with Jason, but I don't think this should be a standing. We automatically send X number, any number 1 to 100 every year. But again, I'm let's talk about it. If you feel differently, I can see an argument both ways.
And what is the how much?
I think the charter was filled up, so it would depend on airfare. Without the charter flight, I think it was $1,200 just for the conference and stuff fees.
I think nominally it was about $2,500 a piece, give or take.
I don't have problems with it as long as we're not just going to go, but we have actions that will progress, get the right people in the right room, and we can make some progress that way. I don't have any issues with that. They seem to open up their arms a little bit more, speaking with us.
I recently helped the city of Fort Dodge with their Webster County Fort Dodge conclave visit to DC. They met with Corps of Engineers, EA, and then because of a pretty big blizzard a few weeks ago, we ended up having a phone call with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and the action taken at the DC headquarters offices were immediate. Within days, the headquarter or national offices out there were talking to the local offices and regional offices here within the Iowa Midwest regions. And project management within those federal agencies that I work with on a daily basis were in contact with me within a day on certain projects. So federal agencies and offices in DC do take immediate action when folks from the Midwest do come out. So being the Corps of Engineers is a neighbor of ours, a big neighbor, I think it's worth taking the time and the effort to make sure they understand our stance on things, make sure that they understand what we want to do in our community. We want to be a good neighbor to them, but sometimes it takes a little bit of push out east.
And that's over and above the other. And again, I'm not pushing for this. I'm just stating that's over and above what's included with the partnerships package was $1,100. So,
Well, I agree with everything that's been said, and I think it's important that we get out there and get known, because last time I was out there, the Army Corps of Engineers met personally with them, and they didn't know what we're talking. didn't know, did they?
Yeah, it's good.
So maybe if you can explain to them where we are and what our problems are.
Yeah, well, it's good to do our homework up front, make sure that we have a piece to give to them. Preface the fact that coming out with information so they understand, can do their homework there as well. It goes a very long ways.
And to further that's part of the reason that sending Rob with the MAC and his involvement down there and his recent appointment to that group and his involvement with the Army Corps seems like a good fit for those two to go. Any other questions?
Oh, thank you.
Ron, thanks for bringing it up. I was also, talk a little bit about that. And I think it's important, too, for people to hear that it's not just a trick for a trip. It's, the value that we do get back out of it. So,
Take a motion.
So moved.
second?
Roll call.
Vogt.
Yes.
Sarchet.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
DeVore.
Yes. Motion carries. Next item is new business. Under new business, action item number 1, Mr. Greg Edwards, Catch Des Moines.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, City Manager. I know this is why you're here, folks. The show of a lifetime, right?
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about the visitor industry and what's happening around the metro area. So thanks for having me. This is our annual report to your city. People ask from time to time, what is your value proposition? Well, our value proposition is we market the region, we increase visitors to our region, and generate economic impact. If you're familiar with our funding mechanism, we receive 2/7 of your hotel tax. Appreciate that partnership. And Bravo receives the other 2/7, and then, of course, 42.8% stays with the city. Our audience continues to be similar to what we've worked on in the past, although we've expanded that somewhat with all the hotel growth of the metro area, especially now with the new Hilton Hotel open in downtown Des Moines. We're concentrating on the convention meeting side very heavily on trade shows, government, professional associations, religious, corporate, et cetera, et cetera. On the sporting events side, going after new sporting events, national governing bodies. We just were in Colorado Springs 2 weeks ago for a big National Olympic deal there, and met with all the different governing bodies of all the different Olympic sports, which, by the way, you probably read a little bit about the new skate park chatter about the new skate park downtown. Skateboarding is going to be an Olympic sport in 2020. So this is going to be another cool thing for the
You got your
metro
board?
area to have.
You got your board, Greg?
I got my board.
Do you? Okay.
It's good for short guys.
Is it?
The fall is less dangerous.
Yeah, I suppose.
Leisure traveler side, continue really to spend a fair amount of our marketing dollars towards advertising throughout about a 250-mile radius around Des Moines, luring in young families, short vacations, things like that. Places where the place to shop, place to have a great time for arts, culture, all that great kind of stuff. And then, of course, our local is our great audience, too, which help us help us lure in a lot of these conventions and meetings and sporting events as well. Just a quick map of the U.S. of where we hit in this past fiscal year with either sales calls, trade shows, bids, or attendance building. You can see we covered pretty well last year. We hosted 88 site visits also during this past fiscal year, being meeting planners and or national sports planners who came to the metro to actually visit us. Hotel growth inventory has grown tremendously. As you can see, this year we're going to end the year close to about 13,000 rooms. That's with the new additional Hilton at 330 rooms. There's still projects throughout the metro. I think there's 4 projects in West Des Moines, several in Ankeny, several in Altoona, and still a couple yet in a couple of the other suburban areas. So continues to grow. That's somewhat of a concern of ours because people say, well, gee, the more hotel rooms you have, the richer you get. Well, that's not necessarily the truth because we've got to keep the demand into those hotel rooms. The corporations keep a lot of that midweek demand at hotels. It's our job then to fill those weekend periods and things like that, which we're trying to do. Our performance on the marketing side, on the social media side, we grew our new social media followers by 29,000, which was a 37% increase in follower growth. We also had a 155% increase in our social media referrals to our catchtopoint.com website. Our marketing opportunities, these are dollars, private sector dollars that we also bring in addition to tax dollars, were nearly $660,000 last year between our marketing partners, our co-op partners, and our cooperative advertising programs. Some of the numbers this past year, we secured 293 conventions, meetings, and sporting events. I mentioned earlier the 88 site visits. Total economic impact from events hosted this past year was over $72 million. And we made nearly 800 connections through our trade shows, sales calls, what have you, throughout the year. Our booked events, we talked about the 293 booked events. These are just a small sampling of the things that are either coming in short term. We're going to host this summer the BMW Motorcycle Owners of America, which is about 3,000 BMW cyclists that will be impacting the metro area. We're also hosting the Enlisted Association of the National Guard of the U.S. That's next year. Of course, next year's also, we'll have the NCAA D1 men's basketball, rounds 1 and 2. State Games of Americas in 2021. And the Iowa State pool players, we just notched them for another 5-year contract as well. They were just here in town this past weekend around the downtown area. We also hosted this year, and we'll host again next year, the NAIA National Wrestling Championships out at the Iowa State Fairgrounds as well. Some of the other significant events that we hosted this past fiscal year was APWA, the American Works Association. You see some of the other ones, the Kennedy Center, American College Theater Festival, another huge event. I'm going to reference that towards the end of my presentation. The total results, again, some of the numbers I just talked about are here. I think the real key is we generated 480 leads. 101 of those leads are still in the works, so we've still got 101 proposals out there on people's desks or board organizations to vote on. And 293 of those did turn into book business. Here was an interesting study that we did. You know, we're always talking about the compression factor of when different sectors of the metro fill up. Downtown's full, one of the suburban areas full, pushes rooms to the other parts of the metro. We took the week of January 14th through the 20th, which essentially was a pretty dead week. We didn't have any major conventions or anything going on. We compared that to the week of January 21st, the following week. That week we had the Iowa Pork Congress in town, the Kennedy Center for Arts in town, which was about 1,500 college kids from all over the Midwest. And we looked at the different scenarios. The average daily rate in comparison raised 11% in the metro area. The occupancy, hotel occupancy, raised by 10% throughout the metro. And the RevPAR, which is revenue per occupied room, which is what a real hotel owner looks at number-wise, raised by 28% during the time. So just kind of a good example of the impact that the group business does have on the entire metro. These are some groups that we're continue to working to secure. We're working on the NAACP convention, which is actually now probably going to be July 2021. We're very close to landing a deal with the National Speech and Debate Tournament. This is the big national high school tournament. Brings in thousands of kids. It's a summertime event. Looking forward to that. And probably most important to most of you, especially I know the mayor, is the American Rabbit Breeders.
Can't wait. It's on my calendar.
They come to town with 3,000 rabbits and they leave 10,000 rabbits.
Wow.
Pretty nice little piece of business. Actually, they do come to town with 3,000 rabbits, and they also bring with them 1,500 people. So it's a nice piece of business. You see some of that we're working
Right.
on. Just making sure you're awake up there. Upcoming events yet this year. Of course, World Pork Expo kind of kicks off. Well, actually, the Prince of Cherry Cat Classic kicks off the summertime event. followed by World Pork Expo. We're going to host again the USA Track and Field Outdoor Track Championships this year, and we just announced we're also going to host it next year, which is huge. Talked about BMW. They're going to be here mid-July. Later this summer, another huge impact group, the AAU Junior Olympic Games, will return. That's a group we host here every 5 years. Huge, huge group, 14,000 athletes with families, coaches, and all. It's 20,000 plus people in the metro area for about 11 days, end of July, right, leading up to the state fair time. So, and then another great group at the end of August is the Farm Progress Show. You'll feel impact here also from that, as that's up in our metro area, really reaps the results of that as well. I have been reviewing with all the city councils our reserve fund activity. Our board about a year ago voted to set a reserve fund rule, if you will, and they allocated that they want us to keep 22% of our overall budget in a reserve fund. 5% of that would be used for future bid incentives if we've got something we need to pay off. A good example is USA Track and Field, which actually costs us about $75,000. We can tap into these funds. And then we have an operating reserve of 17%. The future bid incentive reserve is now fully funded, and our operating reserve is funded at 15 to 17% goal. So close on financial on this as well. And here's what I've been ending my little talk with, because this gives you a little chill up your spine, I know. If you build a place where people want to visit, you'll build a place where people want to live. And if you build a place where people want to live, you'll build a place where people have to work. If you build a place where people have to work, you'll build a place where business wants to be. If you build a place where business wants to be, you'll have built a place where people want to visit. Doesn't that just like do something? I can tell the crowd is fired up. Okay. That's actually from a colleague of mine down in Irving, Texas. She used that in a speech years ago, and I thought, kind of makes sense. On that, happy to take questions, comments.
Just your overall feeling of the impact of the new hotel down there, since it's obviously been, front page of everywhere, and what you think that will bring. I know some of it, but what some of that will bring to the area and opportunities that it will present that we haven't been able to get before.
It's really open. We've booked 23 new pieces of business that would have never come to the point before. Because these were groups that always told us you don't have a headquarter hotel attached to your convention center. Of course, we always dipped a little bit and said, yeah, we've got a bunch of hotels attached by Skywalk. Well, it's 3-4 blocks away, but so it's going to have tremendous impact. We're already seeing those results. I think we're going to see next year. In fact, you'll see our budget in June. But we're going to go in with a pretty flat budget this year because of the hotel growth. Things are not, economy is good, but yet it's still a little shaky out there, as you all know. So we're going to go in reserve this year, but I think within time we're going to again see that growth. Again.
Down this way.
Just curious, not necessarily from our perspective, but more from Central Iowa perspective. You referenced the growth of rooms and that dynamic changing maybe a little bit in terms of where they are. Do you see in a lot of the other regional organizations are looking at how they're governed and structured and those things? Do you see any changes coming for you guys in terms of funding or representation, things along those lines?
No, I think one of our things that we're going to try to do next year, again, budget pending, is do a tourism master plan. We'll bring in a company and look not only at our organization, but look at the whole metro area and really come back to tell us what are we going to look like in 5 to 10 years? What is our growth going to be? What are the hot spots? What do we need? Do we need more indoor ice arenas? Do we need more venues, soccer fields, et cetera, that sort of thing. So I think that's going to help us. But I think looking at our organization as a whole and funding sources and stuff, we continue to raise our private sector funding, which we think is an important things to do. But at this time now, to answer your question, solid. So,
Ted down here, this side of the room.
Thank you.
thank you all. Appreciate
Thanks for
your
coming
time.
out.
Thank you.
See you, Greg. Next item that Greg Clant came out for as well, Ken Morse, Tree City USA presentation.
That was an excellent presentation, but I brought gifts.
Always gotta outshine me, don't you?
That's why some guys have been running for office for years. They know I come around once a year. Here's
That's why.
put that up front.
Got two new people up here who, you know,
For the benefit of the new people, this is why the old guys keep running for this office, because I get giveaways here for years. Oh, let me come up on first. That's okay.
I like this guy.
Do you want to stand up here, by the way? I always keep you at the door. I've been doing this for a long time.
Oh,
I used to
you're
take
smart.
Just a quick background on Polk City Arbor, and my annual update. Polk City Arbor, we were established about 1990. Just a brief story there. That was after a tree was removed off my personal parking by the then Public Works Director.
I remember that night.
Yeah, that was a problem. And we decided at that point that either they were going to have to remove every tree on all the right-of-ways around town and go through a lawsuit, or we were going to have a tree ordinance. We've got a tree ordinance, so all those other trees got to stay. So that was actually turned a bad thing into a good thing. Over the last X number of years, since about 1990, the Arbor League has invested over $20,000 in tree plantings in Polk City. The primary funding coming from Mid-American Energy. We also had a DNR grant one year as well. So we've done a good job of planting trees in Polk City. Recently, Phil Jensen and I attended the Shade Tree Short Course in Ames. That was in February. And we took some classes on when parking meant spaces for trees, magnolias, emerald ash borer, which I'll give you an update on that in just a second, trees as witnesses, caretaker or undertaker, changing tree protection perspectives. That was an excellent program on how to build around the trees rather than wipe them out and then build and plant. It was an excellent presentation. Biology of tree pruning, that was also real beneficial for Phil and I, and long-term forest ecosystem changes. So it was an excellent program. We learned a lot, all for the benefit of the city. Phil and I know all that stuff already. This is so we can help the city. Let's see here. EAB update. Emerald ash borer was first recognized in the United States, Michigan in 2002. It was first discovered in Iowa in 2010. In March of this year, it was determined that the emerald ash borer is now in Marshall and Tama counties. And Mr. Mahoney, how many counties are there in Iowa?
99, sir.
You don't win anything for that.
That was for the hat.
No. That's way too easy. Bringing Iowa's total to 55 counties out of 99 that are now infected with emerald ash. We've been going to seminars on EAB for a number of years now. There are 16 species of ash trees. Iowa has 4 of those species. We've seen slide presentations from Indiana and Michigan and Wisconsin where they had street trees that were lying down the street and then pictures of dead trees on the street and then all the trees gone, reminding me of back at Dutch elm disease. It's coming around, and we're going to see a lot of ash trees die in this state. Statistically, 50% of those trees fall within the first 5 years. 100% of them fall. Iowa has approximately a 15% population of ash trees. There's going to be a lot of dead trees in the next several years. We've been talking about this at council meetings for 10 years now, and I know when it first came around, it was like, something way out there that didn't apply to us. Well, it finally applies to us, and it's coming around. In that regard, I think that some of you may have gotten a couple of copies or pages on a couple of this canopy cover. We picked this up just last week at the Tree City USA Awards, and I copied a few pages for you out of there. But basically, what this says is in 2009 they did satellite data all over the state, and then from that satellite data determined where we have trees and where we don't have trees, and then put numbers to that based on community boundaries and the percentage of tree cover. Polk City at that time had a percentage of tree cover of 32%. I highlighted numerous surrounding communities, which are like 7%, 19%, 6%, 5%, 3%, a bunch of other much lower dispersed trees, the canopy cover. And if you think about that in other communities that have expanded vastly over the last 20 years, the first thing they do is they wipe out all the trees and they build homes. So we haven't had nearly that explosive of growth, so we haven't lost nearly as many trees as some of the other communities, but it continues to go on, which is why we continue to plant trees and that. The Tree City USA luncheon was last week. That was attended by Phil Jensen, my right-hand man on the Arbor League, who's been a member for nearly its inception. His wife Lori, Bill Sharp, Ron Anderson, myself. Discussed the canopy cover. Number of counties in Iowa, we've covered that one. Let's go for, let me put that box up. We'll make the spices up. I'm going to hide that number, don't tell anybody. Oops, excuse me. Okay, now for the goodies here, we'll start with, who can tell me how many communities in Iowa got Tree City USA for 2017? You'd like to make that guess?
You were
28. I read the memo.
What'd you say?
28.
I don't know what memo you read.
18?
24, isn't it?
Tree City USA communities in Iowa.
Wrong memo.
Wrong memo. You're out.
I'm waiting for this.
Mr. Anderson, you already know, or you should know, because you were there, so you're excused. Jeff, everybody get that?
Jeff's got his pin going over here.
35.
Well, you win, but you lost, but you won. The answer is 79.
Oh.
79 communities in Iowa were awarded Tree City USA. That's out of how many communities in Iowa, Mr.
There's about 996.
919 communities in Iowa and 79 Tree City USA. You get the coveted pin.
Good job.
Now, the next big question.
Is this for the hat?
This would be for the
Ooh. All marble.
the first. The easy answer is really easy. It's all around town, so we're not going there.
Okay.
So, the first year that Polk City was awarded Tree City USA, the year that we qualified for Tree City USA would have been what year?
92. I'll say 92.
95.
96.
93.
It was 92.
95.
Do I get the hat? I get the hat. I've never won the hat.
We didn't, and we did not discuss.
Good job.
The hat. I won the hat.
There's the Tree City USA Growth Award. All stickers. I take care of the stickers. Let's see here.
See how that works? I got the hat.
Growth Award.
Isn't that a conflict of
Polk
interest?
City also, we got our Growth Award 23 out of 25 years that we've been Tree City USA. So there's the Growth Award certificate. Jenny already got the electronic picture. The next thing is they're really cool this year, and I'd like to get a picture with City Council.
Ooh, 25-year flag.
Our new flag.
Fancy.
The first time it's ever said 25 years.
Fancy.
Big deal. And there's only, of the 79 communities, there's only like less than 5 that we got 25 years or more. So, I mean, it's a big deal. 79 communities in Iowa, we're one of them, and we're a 25-year community, so that's huge. I would like to get a picture with the city council. Good.
Do you have more to talk about? And then
I do have.
Before we do the picture,
Before we do the picture, I do have one other thing here. I know that down here at City Hall, you guys get hit with a lot of hard questions, the city council and so forth, and just to help you out in the future, I don't know what the questions are going to be, but trees are the answer, okay? So everybody's going to get a tree sticker that says trees are the answer. Everybody also gets a really cool pen from the Polk City tree guy, retired.
Thank
Make
you.
sure you note that I'm retired.
I'm putting it on my.
I've been telling people you've been retired for a while. It just
I'm
doesn't work.
working on it. I'm working on
Still
it.
waiting for you. Tree.
Yeah, well, I'm close to retirement. I'm going to talk about trees. So everybody gets a
Thank
pen and a magnet.
Look, it goes along with the pen I already have up here.
There you go. You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and that's not an endorsement for that business. I just took a bunch of their stickers. You're welcome.
J. Frank Schmidt and Son, thank you for the sticker.
Yeah. There you go. There's your pen. There's your pen. I'm going to put the others over here on the City Hall desk. They can have those. It's there. Pretty exciting.
Good stuff.
And on my final note before we take the picture, I would just like to thank the council, the mayor, Public Works, and City Hall staff for all their support over the years and approval of renaming West Side Drive Park, which is coming up. I've got a guy coming out to engrave up there later this week. Polk City is a great place to be associated at that park. On behalf of the kids and the trees in Polk City, thank you.
Thank you. So I got a couple things. First off, Phil. So Phil, who's the quiet part crime that just sits there and doesn't say much. So, but Phil, you've done a lot of work and obviously appreciate it. But you mentioned a couple of things there, and it's kind of timely due to a couple of things going on. But you said that we've received, the city's received, you've received $20,000 in money towards tree plantings. The thing that we don't have is the total number of hours that have been contributed free of charge to this community due to volunteer time. And there's no way to put a number to it, but I think that that's important, and it goes without saying that the amount of time that you, Phil, and the others who have come before you and been with you as part of all of this have done a whole lot to better this community. And I think that the volunteer hours are bigger than any dollar figure we can ever talk about up here. So that has to be mentioned. You mentioned 25 years of progress, and I do remember the night in 1990, by the way, how well this thing blew up. I'm not joking about that. But I do think that that's important. I do think that it's important to recognize the 25 years of progress because right now people are seeing a dramatic impact due to a development that's going on and other developments that have recently taken place. And as I've said to a couple people who wanted to talk to me about it, the reality is what we've seen in the last week is nothing compared to what has been done in this community for the last 25 years. And so while there were some people who wanted to potentially take to social media and other outlets and be outspoken against the growth award that we just received and make some negative comments about it, unfortunately what they're not going back and viewing is what's done in the last 25 years. And as the conversation I had with a resident just late this afternoon regarding it, it was a very good conversation we had. But you can drive to every single park in this community, and 25 years ago, there weren't trees in those parks. And so, again, although it might be dramatic now, take a look at where we're going to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And I know it's hard for people to see now, but I still believe that in the long run, you're saying that we've got 32% of canopy cover, and a lot of that has been because Polk City has grown out slowly over the years, where you've seen Ankeny and other communities that have had mass explosion, mass cut down, clear cut all these areas out. And so we've been able to maintain some of that high canopy cover because of slow growth and these areas that they've been developed. So I think we're still going to see that high level of canopy cover, even compared to a lot of the other communities around us. And I just think that it's important to note that, again, the amount of work that has been done in this community because of you and others speaks volumes to where we are now. And everybody's so focused on one really dramatic change, but you really need to go back and look and see the amount of work that's been done. All volunteer time with $20,000 over the course of 25 years. I just think that that's important to note. A couple other things. You mentioned the EAB, 16 species for in Iowa. And I think that we had our last meeting, and I'll look forward to hearing your report when you get back from DC on this too. Get a little plug in for that. But we met with the Corps a couple of years ago, and the amount of ash trees that are around Saylorville that we will be no ability to control what happens up there and how rapidly that is going to change. And I know that we're taking precautionary measures, trying not to cut down too many trees. That we've done some stuff out here in the park, done some stuff up at the sports complex. But when it hits out there at Saylorville, it's going to be brutal, is the way that Jeff Rose said.
Everyone will see it.
Yeah, and I mean, basically, if you enjoy seeing the trees or the leaves change in the fall, start paying real close attention to it, because in the next couple of years, it's not going to be there anymore.
You're right.
And I couldn't believe, and I wish I could remember the numbers the numbers of ash trees that are planted around Saylorville.
It's huge.
Yeah, and we're gonna see a really, dramatic hit with that. But anyway, that's my little soapbox. Again, on a personal level, I appreciate all you've done, that. But thank you for everything, and this community is clearly better because.
And again, as I've said to everybody else, when people have asked me why, it's for the kids. It's for the kids and all for me.
Well, I may not be as passionate as someone who was raised to clearly value trees.
Well, I don't value him as much as he does. Let's just be clear. If anybody calls me, I say call him.
No, and I do want to sincerely thank both you guys. I think you should be very proud of the legacy that you had. I don't know if we can mathematically figure out what of that 32% you guys are responsible for, but it's significant. And I want to thank you for that. Has there been I appreciate all the work that you guys do, obviously. Anything that you've run across with our treatment plan for the ash trees that has changed, or we?
No, a year ago, we did remove a couple of them at the sports complex for a couple of, different reasons, and we continue to monitor those. And, as time goes by, that may change. A tree that's worth saving today, if there's storm damage, it could change that. And I think it was good that we're trying to save, some of the specimen trees that we have. Obviously, some of them we're going to let go, but that's just the price of progress.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going. So nothing to indicate that the treatment plan is any less.
We're doing the right thing, I think, at this point. And if we see studies that show otherwise, we'll let you know that. Interestingly enough, in a couple of seminars, one of the things that came up was for some totally unknown reason, there have been pockets where every single ash tree has died, let one. They don't know why. Obviously, they've gone into these very specific ash trees that have survived and taken all kinds of DNA samples and trying to figure out why that tree made it. They don't. If they got a healthy tree that they've flown off, it's possible that maybe we, years down the road, will overcome this and be able to replant ash trees. The short term for ash trees is a very future.
And just to back your comment, I do know that we're on an annual or every couple of year. It's a regular maintenance program. It's just going, and it's automatically running at this point. There's nothing else.
Yeah, do things that pay the bill every time.
It's easy enough.
If it comes around where we're not going to do that, I'll be the first to let you know.
I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You're very welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Ron, you went to the Tree City lunch.
Yes, I did. I know all there is to know about invasive species now.
Yeah.
It was a good time. It was nice to see how that all works, and all the very knowledgeable speakers they had. There was 5 speakers and all very knowledgeable, and lots of letters behind their names, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And I'd like to make another comment that doesn't have anything to do with this, and that is I've been working up West Elementary every once in a while, and the use that Morris Family Park is getting is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Maybe the construction has something to do with it, but I would say out of the recess, when you're out of recess duty, well over 50% of the kids are playing in that park.
And that makes me happy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Not to mention the number of trees that have been planted at West Elementary because of you. Anything else? Thank you. You want a picture?
Phil, would you stand up front with me and hold this flag?
Phil gets his picture taken?
Yeah, Phil, he loves having his picture
I didn't
taken.
think Phil ever got his picture taken.
Maybe if all the council could just stand up behind back here, how would that be? That'd be okay?
Sure. Gather around. Don't be shy. Or do you want to?
You didn't have to ditch out of that, Gary.
He never gets his picture taken. He's worse than Phil.
Okay.
All right. Say leaf.
Trees.
That's not what I said.
Trees.
Did he say trees?
That's a tree guy thing, man.
Phil? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, thank you as well. Thank you all for your support. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. We'll take care of the stickers. I'll let you take care of that. Thank you again for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Next item, number 3, Crossroads Lake Plat 2. Item A, consider motion to approve resolution 2018-36, amended preliminary plat. Mr. Hannah?
I think Aaron Olendike with CDA Engineering will probably go ahead and make the presentation. I'd like the council to know that the preliminary plat and the final plat have been through P&Z.
Where are your hats?
I have nothing to do. Good evening, Erin Olodike, Civil Design and Manage. My address. Here tonight, the first item on the agenda is an amended preliminary plat. Everyone has seen this preliminary plat times. And the changes for you tonight is, as this area through here, the commercial zoning, as you recall, was extended to the east. And so the preliminary plat reflects those new lot areas, as well as they have reduced the single family count by 3 lots. So the changes. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions for Aaron? Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call.
Vogel? Yes. Sarchet?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
DeVore?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next motion, next item, consider motion to approve resolution 2018-37, approving the construction drawings.
The next 2 items are kind of related, or they are related. The construction drawings for this second plat at Crossroads at the Lakes contains basically 3 commercial outlots along South 3rd Street. And then as you continue on with East Bridge Road going to the east, then it contains 38 single-family lots. Then there's an outlot that'll be dedicated to the city as park. The property will be mass graded all at once, so all the basins will be constructed up front, and storm sewer outlet in those basins will be
Important
constructed
comment.
at this time.
Has that always been done in the past? I mean, I think it's great. I'm just asking.
Is that the detention ponds are made first?
I mean, I think it's
There
important.
wasn't, yes, through the construction drawings, all tension and everything is identified. Usually also identified both in the preliminary as well as preliminary plat. Final plat, of course, doesn't have that, but by that,
I think he's
the construction.
asking, to your point, that the construction of those detention ponds is up front. So that's
Before.
right.
But it's usually that way.
Okay.
I didn't know. Yeah.
I think it's just important to note because of some of the other questions that come up regarding cement drainage.
Yeah, I think it was important in this case because we were mass grading.
Yes.
And because we're at kind of top end drainage.
Yep.
So it was important to get those detention basins in, get the storm sewer, so that
Sure.
that's all.
No, that's great. I was just curious.
Questions on B? Motion? So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
DeVore?
Yes.
Vogel? Yes. Sarchet?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Motion
Walters?
carries. What?
Just was finished.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thought you'd already talked. Who are you again? Okay. Item C, consider motion to approve resolution 2018-38, approving the final plat, including warranty deed, easements, and subdivision bonds. Anything else to add?
There are 2 items that,
Okay.
that we want to discuss. One is the requirement of a temporary turnaround at the end of East Bridge Road. Kind of look at this grading plan, you kind of can see all of these contours in here. And so we're putting in temporary drainage to this area, trying to get the water out of the ponds and down into this next pond. And so putting in a temporary turnaround here was very problematic. Caused the extension of a lot of storm sewers here. I would also note there's only 2 lots past the intersection really, so we would ask that that requirement be waived. P&Z did recommend that as well, I think for a period of 2 years, but as Kathleen noted in
Yeah, and then since that time period, had talked to the police department, fire department, I think, and public works to make sure that not having you can let me know if I'm misspeaking, that the temporary turnaround wasn't needed for emergency access. So, which we didn't know at the time of the P&Z meeting. So.
And if I remember correctly at that meeting, that was the only criteria for that, or not criteria, the rationale for
Yeah.
asking for that. So I
Yep.
think that
The second issue has to do with driveways. City staff, and it is a SUDAS requirement on these two corner lots here, would force driveways to be off of Redwood Place and would not allow driveways off of East Bridge Road because of its status as a major collector.
Or just a collect.
I guess we would like some discussion on that. There's single family lots all the way along this, and then it dead ends actually as it goes deer development. So I guess we feel like there's going to be driveways all along here. We'd like to keep those lots, I guess, possibilities open and allow driveways to be off the East Bridge.
Yeah, I mean,
The whole street would be lined with driveways anyway.
right. I mean, the SUDAS requirement is that if there's an opportunity to have a driveway off a lesser street, which in this case, Redwood is a local street as opposed to a collector. So that's where the requirement kicks in, which P&Z then recommended that that same requirement be followed through. But again, I mean, we know this isn't a collector that's going to, extend forever. I mean, we know where it's going to hit Deer Haven, and then eventually kind of Deer Haven itself will go up to Broadway, but it's not a street that's going to just continue as the area is further developed. I mean, it's finite, I guess.
Yeah, so just to go ahead, Jeff.
This is lots 76 and 53.
Corner.
Well, 10 and 33.
Or,
on the
okay,
plat.
all right, this, I was right.
Are you looking at the
Which
plat?
one?
Yeah.
So what were you gonna add?
But so there's a different, those are the lots, right? 76 and 53?
That's on the Florence
Oh,
plat.
three
No,
lots.
they're actually
But it's the
lots.
same ones, right?
10 and
Okay,
53,
okay.
yeah.
So I appreciate there's a lot of decent amount of conversation from P&Z on this about that. I see, I kind of went back and forth, and not to jump ahead, but I can see the argument, and I do think adding, or possibly reducing two driveways out of, what do we got here, 20 or 30. To me, it doesn't. It maybe fits the spirit of the letter of the major thoroughfare. What about Collector Street? Collector Street, probably then the spirit of it. I would tend to leave that up into the individual owner, and because that's what if we don't go with that, then they have the option to put it on either spot, correct? And that's kind of where I would lean, I guess. It's not a major.
I would agree with you. I think it should be up to where they want the driveway, and that would also dictate maybe the layout of their house, what the house is going to be. So I don't see it as really an issue. I know SUDAS is it's a recommendation. I mean, it's something that we need to follow, but I believe this is not something that's come up in the past.
And we did just take off 3 residential lots, 2 of which I believe were on Bridge Road, right?
Yeah, 2 were on Bridge Road, and then 1 was along Crossroads.
Yeah. So, I mean, in essence, there's your two driveways.
True. Jeff, Ron, anything to add? Question?
I'd just like to commend Aaron and Kathleen for their hard work, staff, P&Z, everything to go. It's nice to get this without a ton of recommendations to go over at this level, that they've all been worked out before it got here, and that's greatly appreciated. I'm sure it's due to the new liaison with P&Z.
I guess it's Jared.
Yeah. No, but that's greatly appreciated, that we don't have to hash this all out again at the council level.
Yeah, and again, I understand what they're saying, and to sort of push that onto us without, I think is probably appropriate. But again, in my opinion, it's not a huge deal.
Jen, do you have anything to add at all? You're just sitting there quietly. listening
Not
to
really. I mean, Aaron, you're all actually making great arguments. So,
Okay.
it'd just be for the individual homeowner to have. There's really, either way, it doesn't hurt us too badly. We just, we'd like an individual homeowner to be able to choose.
Before we make a motion, I do want to wax a little poetic on the this overall and less about the final plat. But I think that this has been one of the longer journeys for a development. I don't know how far back it goes, but I know it's at least to this point without a ton of, I shouldn't say it that way, regardless, to this point, we're 18 months in, roughly. I don't know how many.
You can go to 2 years early.
October, you purchased October 15? I was trying to remember that today in my conversation.
So
Thank you.
I bring that up just to I feel like we're doing the right thing here. Is it the best thing for everybody? And from all viewpoints, probably not. But I do think it is the best for the most amount of people, and progress can be painful. And I, along with a lot of people driving along the intersection up there, saw dramatic progress over the last week, and I think that's the pain. I do feel pretty confidently that in another 18 months, 2 years, whatever, we'll have a better section of town over there that will connect, that will hopefully serve the town in a way that we don't have to this point. But, we're not going to have that for a while, and so I would just ask people to keep an open mind. I don't like, cutting down or removing trees than anybody, especially given the last presentation. But I do appreciate the work that's gone in. I think we've got something here that will benefit some people that will be coming to town because of this, and the folks that.
To echo that comment, and something that a couple conversations I had regarding this, but particularly today, was the fact that this area has been identified in Polk City's long-term plans for years and years and years, even before Kimberly's purchased the property. So it wasn't like we just made a rush decision and said, hey, let's just go there, cut an area. This has been long-term out there, and we're happy that somebody's going to put a good project together. Appreciate the work you guys have done, all of you, because I know there's been a lot. Had a couple calls on that. That being said, I'd take a motion on C.
Motion approved. Item C.
Second.
Roll call.
Sarchet?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
DeVore?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
so much.
Thanks,
We
Eric.
appreciate it.
So do we.
You're done.
Yeah.
We'll get it looking pretty again. It's tough to look at though for us too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I drove it just now, and so when I was there last week, it was it's shocking, but we'll get it to be a nice corner that hopefully has some good benefits.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Jonathan. Thank you. Item 4, consider motion to approve resolution 2018-33, approving an agreement with the Iowa Department of Transportation for traffic safety program funding for 3rd Street and Bridge Road signalization project. Another big important project, Gary.
This is another grant for that intersection. This one has a limit of $90,000 and is for traffic safety improvement traffic control device. This project is in the neighborhood of 325 in round figures, and between two grants, we're starting to get a good 2/3 of this start buttoned up and paid for, and not directly coming from the city coffers.
Very important. Motion making.
I will make a motion to approve resolution 2018-33.
Second. Roll call, please.
Walters?
Yes.
DeVore?
Yes.
Vogt? Yes. Sarchet?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 5, consider motion to approve a supplement agreement with Snyder and Associates. What's this word? Reducing? Is that what that says? I don't typically see that in an agenda. I just want, reducing the contract price in the amount of $23,600, updating the total contract amount to $44,500 for the signalization project at 3rd and Bridge.
The reason that's towards the end is because if anybody had a heart attack, we would have most of our business done at
Gotcha.
the farm. As we took a look at the contract after it was approved by council, we noticed that there were some duplications in several other projects that have been done, some previous work that we have done. So Snyder went back and removed those items from this contract, resulting in a reduction of $23,600.
Anybody want to jump at this?
Easy.
Does that mean you're making a motion?
So move.
Yeah.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes,
Walters,
Abstain.
Warren.
Yes. Motion carries. Item 6, consider motion to approve resolution 2018-34, abolishing the sign policy. This follow-up conversation we had 2 weeks ago. I know Public Works is already actively in the process of taking care of some of it, but we need to formalize a couple other issues with this resolution. Take motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Anderson,
yes,
Walters,
Yes.
Warren.
Motion carries. Item 7, consider motion to approve resolution 2018-35, approving Snyder and Associates February 2018 invoices in the amount of $15,236.75.
so moved,
Second.
Roll call, please.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Anderson,
yes,
Walters,
Abstain.
Warren. Vogel. Sarchet, you seconded it, never mind.
Go again.
No, that's okay.
Motion carries. Item 7, Mayor's Arbor Day proclamation for April 27th, 2018. They didn't stick around here, the proclamation. It is in your packet, so I will say now, therefore, I, Jason Morse, Mayor City of Polk City, Iowa, do hereby proclaim April 27th, 2018 as Arbor Day in the City of Polk City, Iowa, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. That's all I got. Item 8, reports. I don't really have anything else to add other than my comments that we said earlier, so I'll leave that. Anybody else have anything else up here?
One quick thing, I went to the DOT and Snyder's 415 and 141 meeting over at Granger a couple weeks back. To be honest, I went more as a resident driving on 415 than an official capacity. No, more concerned.
Okay.
And most of it was on 415, some of the changes that Dan and group go out to quite a bit here in Granger, and I think they've got a couple options to help with some of those accidents. It was like a top 20 in terms of, I can't remember if it was number of accidents or severe accidents, but probably both, yeah. I was interested to hear that they're doing a study this summer on the intersection of 415 and whatever that crossroad is on the other side of the bridge. 160
Beaver.
Is it Beaver? Okay, it's in our corner. Okay, so hopefully at the end, and I don't know if there's a role for the city to play, just to make sure that we're aware of them doing that and make sure that they don't study it on a 2 a.m. on a Tuesday like they did over here. But
In February.
Some of the engineering that is being done on that are people that totally understand the dynamics that are around Bridge Road, 415 3rd Street, and our engineers that have worked in Polk City with Snyder Engineering, and I think that's through coordination with our offices, going to be sure that we're all advised.
okay, thank you. Fine.
Anybody down here?
I know we said enough, we said a lot about Ken and Phil. I mean, that's great stuff, especially in this community. Also, I wanted to bring a special thank you to Public Works for the note that was put in our packet from a resident on Deer Haven that had some accumulation of, just a large amount of water and, start getting some debris back there, and they went and took care of it very quickly. So, I mean, we need the good with the bad, right? So, appreciate all that. I think it goes with all of our public service that we put out there with the police and fire and Public Works. Everybody does a great job, but nice to get a good attaboy as well.
They send sent me a copy of it, and I forwarded it off to Mike. He didn't know quite how to respond. He said, we never get these sorts of things.
It's like I know nothing.
Yeah, so, very appreciated. Down here, anything down here? Gary?
I've just got one thing. You might see a lot of plastic bags in City Hall, not only tonight, but in the coming weeks through the month of April. Metro Waste Authority has a program where the city that returns the most bags per capita will get a park bench. Staff has taken this on, and we have got it pushed out in media and everything. And last Friday they took 23.5 pounds of plastic bags, and we probably are close, or if not more, already this week. Word's getting out. So just encouraging everybody. So if you come into City Hall, you see a bunch of bags, plastic bags in our entryway. We're participating, and we're trying to get a bench for one of our parks.
Everybody remember who won the bench last year?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I also found out how hard they worked at.
Yeah.
They went door to door.
Well,
We're not going door to door.
fairway.
Well, a few more doors.
They're probably gonna get a second bench to put in their park.
Oh. Anybody else have anything else to add for the, yes?
One quick thing, we have tickets for the Canine Fundraising Gala for sale now, or the police department. It goes through the Police Association. It's on May 18th at TCI. So if anybody's interested, just grab myself or one of the other members of the department. Be happy to help you out.
Yep, I have two things. One, so a week from Tuesday is our annual smoke detector check, battery change / heat delivery. So from 5 to 8 next Tuesday with Papa's. They've always been a good partner. It's been a part of our fire prevention program for, I don't know, a number of years now. So we set a new record every year. I think last year we delivered 110 deliveries in that couple hours. So it's pretty crazy. So that'll be next Tuesday. And then on your consent agenda tonight, there was a retirement from the fire department, and that was Jason Back. His official retirement date is tomorrow, and that is what would have been Jason's 17th anniversary with the fire department. He's been with us for a long time. Most recently moved out of town, was still working for us part-time, but spent lots of years here as a paramedic on call. So, literally thousands of hours he probably spent on call for the department, and touched obviously a lot of patients and stuff. So I just want to acknowledge his retirement effect tomorrow.
Thank you for doing that. I do. Just like staff, we have anybody else got anything else to add?
It's National Library Week, and Thursday at 5 o'clock, where the chamber's coming up and doing a ribbon cutting. Kind of a grand reopening after we've reset our shelves and stuff like that. So.
Did you have your hand up?
Yes.
Oh my. Well, we just don't hear from you.
I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that I'm going to be doing a second budget amendment for this fiscal year. So next council meeting, you guys will be doing, setting a date for a public hearing. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that that was coming in the pipeline.
Anything we need to be worried about yet?
No, I'm just simply increasing water for whatever reason. With the drought we had last summer, our spending for water purchase was a lot higher, so I just need to increase that before we go over our budget on that.
You else have anything else before we adjourn? Do you have one more thing?
Yeah, I just wanted to commend you for picking up these bags. If I walk around town after all the storm, pick up bags, it might be
Danny?
We'll take.
Sure, I'll have a garbage bag ready for him.
Late to use.
Only if you pick up the papers that are gone with them.
Well,
Whole
the
nother
reason I
story.
wanted to commend you is when I was in Hawaii, I spent once a week with here picking up trash on the beach. And you just can't imagine how much garbage is phenomenal. So I commend the city for doing it.
Thank you for picking that stuff up. Last item.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
I think